Hi guys, welcome to our week 6 meeting. Well, I see many people here already, so sorry I'm a little late. Okay, let me see, make sure I got everybody here. Veronica's here, Laura, Masha, Magali, Laura, Sandy's here, Lapo, Don, Tran. Okay, all right. Okay, very good. So got many people here. It's pretty good show off. Okay, all right. So let's talk about last week. Now something happened last week. I didn't do it. So it wasn't just for our school. Apparently, every single school in the nation happened the same thing. Good thing is it's already fixed. And as you may already know, that I have extended your chapter, not chapter, your exam one. So exam one is due tomorrow night at 11:30. I want to say it's either 11:30 or 11:59. But end of tomorrow night. That's when the exam is due. Okay, I think Laura asked me if we can extend the homework. You know what? Since Laura asked me, I'm gonna extend that too. Okay, so let me make a note to myself. Extend. Here, let me get a piece of paper. Extend chapter 7 and 8 assignment and quizzes. So guys, I'll extend your chapter 7 and 8 assignment and quizzes. I'll extend them until, let's say, Tuesday. So Tuesday night, that's when they'll do. So they give you a little more time to work on everything. All right. Yeah, thanks, Laura. Okay. So let's talk about this week. Let me see. So we're gonna talk about chapter 7, chapter 8. Oh, also, guys, since I extended your exam one till Friday night, so if you go onto your Canvas and check your exam one grade, the extra credit is not there yet. But once we finish everything, so probably over the weekend, I'll put the extra credit in there manually. So by probably Monday, you will see your exam one grade with the extra credit in there. Okay, so now let's talk about chapter 7, chapter 8. Let me do the screen sharing. All right, so chapter 7. And Sandy, have a question. So if you don't need our points for this exam, Sandy, here's the thing. It's hard for me to move points around in Canvas, so I'm gonna apply the points to your exam one now. Now the thing is, yeah, I can't move it, so they had to go on to exam one, and then let's say you got 100 on the exam, so you got 100 and you still did your weekly participation with me, so you get some extra credit on it. That will push your grade above 100, so you got 105 or 106, and that way it will also increase the overall average. So the extra credits, there are 2 points for each week. Okay, so far this is week 6, and I think we missed 1 week, so you should have 5 weeks on there. So for some of you, you should be getting 10 points extra on your first test. Okay, all right. Now let's get started on chapter 7. So chapter 7 is the consumer, producer, and the market efficiency. Let me go to the next slide. So let's talk about definition first. That's not important. This is important. Something called a willingness to pay. So your willingness to pay is how much are you willing to pay for the good. So what's the maximum price you're willing to pay for the good? So let's say that you're very thirsty, you want to buy a cup of water, a bottle of water, and then you willing to pay $10 for the bottle of water, and then $10 is your willingness to pay. Oh, Rose asked me another question. So Rose says, do we have 3 attempts and the guys has highest points for each one? Yes, Rose, we do. So for every test, also for every quiz, you get 3 tries, and then the system would take your highest grade. Now I know that for some of you guys, you probably did like 2 or 3 tries, but the system is not taking in your extra try grade, don't worry. If you check your grade on MindTab, it shows the highest grade. But currently between MindTab and Canvas, there is a slow process of syncing grade. So that's why your grade in MindTab and Canvas is different. But don't worry, those grades will eventually be synced with Canvas. So if you get a higher grade on the second and third attempts, those grades will be reflected in your final grade, or at least in a couple of days. Okay, so just give a couple of days, and then if you still don't see them updating, send me an email. I can always update it, manually. So just let me know. Okay. All right. So again, willing to pay is the maximum price consumer are willing to pay for something. Now, let's say we have 4 consumers over here, and then they're all in the market for iPod. We have Anthony, Chad, Flea, and John. So different consumer have different willingness to pay. So for Anthony, he's willing to pay $250. Chad is $175. Flea is $300, and John's $125. And then let's look at the price over here. So suppose the price for iPod is $200. For these 4 consumers with their different willingness to pay, some people buy it, some people won't. So for Anthony, he's willing to pay $250 for the iPod. The price is $200, so he'll buy it. And then for Chad, that's too expensive. He wouldn't buy it. Flea will buy it, and then John will also buy it. And then this thing called consumer surplus comes in. So consumer surplus, you can think this just as how much money you save by buying something. So if you buy it, and then if this price is below your budget, then you're saving money. But if you don't buy it, you don't save any money. So remember, consumer surplus only come from when you're buying something. All right, so we got that. We've drawn demand curve. Now demand curve looks a little odd like this. It's a little step demand curve like a staircase, but it's pretty much the same thing. Okay, so that means for the price of 300, you have 300 above, you have zero consumers. When the price is 300, you have 1 consumer. Price of 250, you have 2 consumers. This is what 175. You have 3 consumers, and last one 125. There are 4 consumers. So different price level, you have different number of consumers who are buying this good. Now let's look at our consumer surplus. So consumer surplus is the amount a buyer is willing to pay minus the amount the buyer actually pays. So how much is your budget minus how much you actually paid. By the way, WTP stands for willingness to pay. So consumer surplus CS equals to WTP minus price. Now again, remember the price for this question was 200. So for the first consumer Anthony, he will buy the good, and his WTP is 250, and then price is 200. So for him, he will save $50. Now for Chad, he wouldn't buy it because for Chad the price is too high. He wouldn't buy it at all. Therefore, his CS will be 0. And then Flea, she will buy it, and then she will save $100. And the last one, John wouldn't buy at all because again, John his WTP is too low. Okay, that's different numbers, so that's fine. Let me show you how to calculate your. You know what? Before we go on, let me show you this. I think this is a quiz question. So on the quiz, you might see this question. So given this demand curve over here, and then if the price is 250, the question is how much is your total consumer surplus? So for consumer surplus, we're going to find them between. So the consumer surplus is the area that's between your demand curve and then your price line. So this little area over here, that's our consumer surplus. So for the first person, Flea, her willingness to pay was 300. So for Flea, his consumer surplus from Flea equals to 300 minus 220. So she saved $80. And the next one was this is Anthony. And then for Anthony, same thing for consumer surplus for Anthony. It's going to be the maximum price he will pay is 250. So 250 minus 220, and then he saves $30. So the total consumer surplus for this price level is going to be plus 30. That's 110. That's your total consumer surplus. Okay. All right. This does anybody have any question right now over the stuff consumer surplus? No questions. Okay. All right. If I give you a demand curve like this, and trust me, you will see demand curve like this. This is a normal demand curve. To find your consumer surplus on demand curve like this, remember, it's always the area that's below your triangle, below your demand curve, above the price line. This area is your consumer surplus. So to find the consumer surplus, all you gotta do just find the area of the triangle. And then you guys remember the formula for the area for the triangle is your base times height divided by 2. So for consumer surplus over here, the base, let's find the horizontal distance. So from this point to this point, that's what, 15. So it's 15. That's your base times the height. So the vertical distance from 60 to 30, that's a 30 divided by 2. So my consumer surplus is how much? Calculator. 15 times 30 divided by 2. The answer should be 225. That's your consumer surplus. Okay, so that's it. Just find the area of a triangle. Yeah, not that much into it. All right, let's look at this one. This is important too. So suppose the price increased. So it was 30 before, but now the price goes up to 40. Now, when the price goes up to 40, this new, what is it, pinkish, purple pinkish area, that's your new consumer surplus. This big triangle was your old consumer surplus. So which means our consumer surplus becomes smaller. So every time when the price increase, your consumer surplus will become smaller. And then if you look at this two arrow here, so this rectangle, the area of this rectangle representing the loss of consumer surplus of consumer who are still buying the good. But this small triangle over here, they're the consumers who stop buying the good. Okay, so consumer surplus does decrease, and then for this decrease over here, part of it because your current consumers who still buy the good, they pay higher price now, so they save less money. And then another part is they're gonna have many consumers who stop buying because the price too high. So that's your changing consumer surplus. Hi Dinah, Angelo. All right, so let's try this. So suppose find the consumer surplus when the price is at 30. So price of $30. So this is the price of 30. So draw the price line. And then once you draw the price line, the area between your demand curve and your price line, this is your consumer surplus. So find the area, it's your base times height over 2. So base, your horizontal distance from 0 to 10, that's a 10. Your vertical distance is from 30 to 40, that's another 10, divided by 2. So your answer should be 50. Okay, so when the price is 30, your consumer surplus is 50. If the price falls to 20, so if price falls to 20 over here, then this big triangle, that's your consumer surplus. So the area for the big triangle, the vertical distance from 20 to 40, that's a 20. The horizontal distance from 0 to 20, that's a 22, divided by 2. So 20 times 20 divided by 2, there should be 200. That is your consumer surplus for the big triangle. And then this area, this rectangle, that's the loss of consumer surplus. Well, that's the gaining of consumer surplus to the existing buyers who are paying a lower price. And then this triangle over here, they're the new buyers who enter the market. Okay, and if you want to, you can do the math and find out how much that is. Okay. All right, let's keep going. For cost, so that's basic information. Cost is the value of everything a seller must give out to produce something. And then think this as your opportunity cost, your production cost. They're all in the cost category. So for buyers, we have our willingness to pay. Well, that should be a P. So willingness to pay, that's horrible. And then for sellers, you have your cost. So that's for sellers, and this is for buyers. And then with our cost, we can use it to find out what is our producer surplus. Let's skip this part and go to the calculation part, okay? We have a step supply curve like this, very similar to demand curve. It just shows you a different price level, how many unit the market is able to produce or willing to sell. And then this sync supply curve is a collection of different costs between different companies. So some company has a lower cost, some companies has a higher cost. So we have, one company here costs $10, one company here costs 20, one company here costs 35. So different company, different cost. Now, let's suppose that for this market over here, the current price for this good, here we go. So let's say the current price is at $25. Now, at $25, some people will produce the good, some people choose not to produce the good. So let's say for Jack, it only costs him $10. And then the price for it is 25. That means if Jack produces good, he's getting some profit. And then this profit, we call this the producer surplus. So producer surplus equal to the price minus the cost of the good. So for Jack, his producer surplus is going to be, his price is 25. His cost is 10. What just happened? What was that? Yeah, ugly. So 25 minus 10 is 15. And then for Jeanette will also produce this good. So for Jeanette, for her price is 25. For her cost is 20. So her producer surplus is $5. Now for Chrissy over here, her cost is $35, but the price is only 25. That means if she produced the good, she will lose $10. So for her, why even produce it? Because guys, remember the goal of every single company is to maximize profit. So if you're losing money, then don't even do it. So for Chrissy over here, she will not produce this good because for her the price is too low. So for this market, we only have two producers produce this good, Jeanette and Jack. And then together, the total producer surplus will be $20. That's your total producer surplus. All right, make sense? Anybody have any questions right now over the producer surplus? No? No questions? All right, if no questions, let me continue. Now, so give me a supply curve like this. Let's suppose the price is set at 40, and then your producer surplus is the area that's below your price line, above your supply curve. So this triangle over here, this is your producer surplus. And then to find your producer surplus, same deal, find an area. So the producer surplus in this case over here, so PS equals to the vertical distance, which is from 15 to 40. So that's a 25. That's your vertical distance, times your horizontal distance. That's also from 0 to 25. That's 25 divided by 2. Let me use my calculator. So it's 25 times 25 divided by 2 is 312.5. That is your total producer surplus. All right, everybody got it? Yeah. Okay. Let's keep this. I mean, you know what? Since we're already here, let's do it. Let's do it. So when the price is 20, how much is our producer surplus? So this is $20 over here. Remember, your producer surplus is always below your price line, above the supply curve. So this triangle over here, that is your producer surplus. And then for this producer surplus, so PS equals to 20 times 10 divided by 2. So the answer should be 100. Okay, so then your vertical distance is 20, horizontal distance is 10. So 20 times 10 divided by 2 is 100. So that's your producer surplus. All right, let me skip this. So it's important. So your consumer surplus is the WTP. Why do I always put an R on there? It's WTP minus the price paid by buyers. And then the producer surplus is your price minus cost. And then your total surplus, so for the entire economy, the total surplus is your consumer surplus plus producer surplus. And this is simply your WTP minus your cost. That will give you your total surplus. And then on the graph over here, let me show you the graph. On the graph, your producer, so this top triangle, that's your consumer surplus, and this bottom triangle, this is your producer surplus, and then your total surplus is this two triangle combined. That is your total surplus. So let's find out what is the consumer surplus for this question and the producer surplus and total surplus. So consumer surplus, the top triangle, so the vertical distance is from 30 to 60. That's a 30 times the horizontal distance from 0 to 15. That's a 15 divided by 2. So don't forget, always divided by 2. That's how to find an area for a triangle. So this is 15, 225. And then do the same thing for producer surplus. So this vertical distance, that's a 15. Horizontal distance 15 divided by 2. 112.5. And then total surplus is your producer surplus plus consumer surplus. So there will be 225 plus 112.5. And the answer should be 337.5. All right, so that's the answer for this question. Let me skip all this. That's not really important. Not important. Not important. All right, so that's it for chapter 7. So chapter 7 is pretty easy. So as long as you know the consumer surplus, the producer surplus, and total surplus, and how to find an area for a triangle, you'll be fine for chapter 7. All right, so does anybody have any questions? Oh, one more thing to mention. The goal of every single consumer is to maximize our consumer surplus. The goal of every single producer is to maximize our producer surplus. And the goal for every single company or the economy is to maximize our total surplus, or total surplus. All right, so that's it for chapter 7. So does anybody have any questions regarding to chapter 7? Let me wait for 10 seconds. There's a delay here. All right, so guys, if no questions, let's talk about chapter 8. Do I want to keep my ink? No, discard. All right, chapter 8. So tax. Now, chapter 8 is similar to chapter 6, the second part of chapter 6, but it's an extension based on your consumer surplus and total and the producer surplus. So let's look at our question. All right, for this market over here, remember tax is always the difference between how much your buyer pays and how much your seller receive. So this distance over here, that is the tax for the economy or for this market. And then let's look at this. So before, yeah, horrible, looks bad. Before there was a tax. So before tax, this was the price for the marketplace. So before tax, your consumer surplus. Now, if you let's label this area A, B, C, D, E, F. So before tax, your price was a PE. So consumer surplus for before tax will be area A, B, and C. So the top triangle over here, that's your consumer surplus. And then your producer surplus is going to be D, E, and F. And then lastly, your total surplus is everything all together. So A, B, C, D, E, F. All right, now, once we have a tax, with the tax, your price for buyer goes higher, price for seller goes lower. So with the tax, this is the price for buyer, and this is the price for seller. So now with tax, your new consumer surplus will be just area A now because the price gone up now. So price is consumer surplus area A, and then your producer surplus is just becoming area F now because producer also lose some money. Why does it keep doing that? So this is F. Now, however, B and D, this we call this tax revenue. Because B and D, that's your tax per unit times how many units you sell. So this is how much your tax revenue is. So that's how much money the government is getting. Now, however, if you notice that this little triangle, C and E. So C used to belong to the consumer surplus. E used to belong to the producer surplus. But now with the tax, nobody can claim C and E now. So consumer lost C, producer lost E, and then for the entire economy, nobody have this anymore. So this C and E, we have a name for it, not CS. So C plus E, this is called dead weight loss. So let me give a definition for dead weight loss. So dead weight loss is the tax or the fall in total surplus that's result from the market distortions such as a tax. You can also think dead weight loss as the inefficiency that's in the economy. So every time you have a tax, you're going to have some consumers who are able to buy the good before, but they couldn't buy anymore. And you have some producers who are able to sell the good before, but couldn't sell anymore. So this is called the inefficiency in the economy. We call them the dead weight loss of the economy, or the dead weight loss of the tax. So every time you have dead weight loss, this is always inefficient, which is bad. All right. So let's try this. So find out the CSPS and total surplus without tax. Guys, if you want to take a piece of paper out, we can do this together. Okay. So let's do it together. Now, we're going to find out what is the consumer surplus, producer surplus, and total surplus before tax. Now, before tax, our price for it is at $100. So this is the tax. Oh, this is the price. And then the top triangle, that'd be your consumer surplus. So this is going to be the vertical distance. It's from 200 to 400 is 200. That's your vertical distance. Horizontal distance is 0 to 100. That's 100. And then divided by 2. So that will be 10,000. That's your consumer surplus. And then producer surplus will be the lower triangle over here. So this is the producer surplus. And then this equals to the vertical distance is 200, horizontal distance 100, divided by 2. So again, this is 10,000. So before tax, your consumer surplus is 10,000, producer surplus is 10,000, and then together your total surplus is going to be 20,000. That is 4 zeros. Sorry, should I make sure? So total surplus is 20,000, which is a sum between your consumer surplus and producer surplus. All right, so that's the first part. And then next, showing the next. Guys, give me 1 second. I think somebody just knocked on my door. I want to see who that is. Discard. No. Come back. All right, guys, sorry about that. I'm back now. All right, back to screen sharing. Well, you're not supposed to see that. That's my answer key. All right, so we have a tax. Tax will be $100. So this at $250. That's the price for buyer. $150. That's the price for seller. And then this distance over here is our tax. Now, given this information over here, let's label the area first. So your consumer surplus is the top triangle here. So this is your consumer surplus. And then producer surplus is the lower triangle. So this is your producer surplus. Tax revenue over here, that's how much given to the government. And this little triangle here, that's our dead weight loss. All right, so let's do the math. So consumer surplus, it's going to be the vertical distance from 400 to 250. That's 150. Horizontal distance is from 0 to 75. So times 75 divided by 2. Well, let me use my calculator. So 150 times 75 divided by 2, 5625. And then producer surplus is going to be same thing, 150 times 75 divided by 2. So 5625 again. And then your tax revenue, the vertical distance, that's 100. That's your tax. Times the horizontal distance, 75. Now, do not divide by 2 anymore, because this is a rectangle, not a triangle. So 100 times 75, 7,500. Last one, that we lost. That we lost is this little triangle over here. So the vertical distance is 100. Horizontal distance from 75 to 100 is 25. Divided by 2. 1250. Okay, so that's your that we lost, and then your total surplus. Total surplus is all this stuff over here. So consumer surplus plus producer surplus plus tax revenue. So that will be 5625 plus 5625 plus 1250. Oh, not 1250, I'm sorry. 5625 plus 5625 plus 7500. So 18750. That is our total surplus. Okay, everybody got it? Delapo, chapter 7, question 6. Okay, so once I finish this PowerPoint, I will show you guys how to do number 7 or chapter 6, chapter 7, question 6. All right. Let's keep going. That's already important. That is not really important. Let's cover for chapter 8. I think that might be 8 for chapter 8. Chapter 7, chapter 8 is all pretty simple. Very straightforward. Just definitions. Dinah, no, we don't. Dinah, we do not include the dairy loss in the total surplus. So the total surplus is only your consumer surplus plus producer surplus plus tax revenue, and then dairy loss is not part of our total surplus. So remember that. Okay. Now this last part for chapter 8, something called a Laffer curve. So Laffer curve shows you the correlations between your tax revenue and then size of the tax. Now let's talk about income tax. So for income tax, it's just how much of your income is paid to tax. So it's a percentage. Now imagine the current income tax is 100%. Now if you've been taxed at 100% for income, then do you still want to work anymore? Probably not. That means whatever money you make is all paying to tax. So if you're paying 100% income tax, we don't work anymore. Now, if you don't work anymore, how much tax do you pay? Nothing, right? So when the tax size is too high, at 100%, nobody wants to work anymore. And when that happens, your tax revenue will be zero. 1 second, guys. Something else knocking on my door. Hey, bro. Give me 1 second. I'll be finished. Are you here for the answers to review? Send me an email. I'll send you back with the answers. Okay. All right. All right, guys. Sorry about that. Okay. So where was I? Now, so in this case over here, that if we lower the income tax percentage, so charge a lower rate, then people can have more money to themselves. So you want to work more. And then if you go to the left side of the tax size over here, your tax revenue is actually increasing. So this chart was made famous by President Reagan in the early 1980s. And then in the 1980s, President Reagan was arguing that at that time in 1980s, our US economy was at this portion of the curve, that we're paying too much percentage of our income to tax. And then if our government was able to lower the percentage, so charge everybody a lower tax, not only does everybody have more money, but the government will also end up collecting more revenue from tax. So everybody's better off. So that's where the Laffer curve comes from. So Laffer curve, remember, shows you the relationship between the size of the tax and then just how much tax revenue you're collecting. Okay. All right. So that's it for chapter 8. Does anybody have a question on chapter 8 right now? Anybody have a question? So, all right. If nobody has a question, then let me work on the number 6 on chapter 7. So give me 1 second. Let me log into. Oh, Veronica, you have a question? Okay. log in first. Okay, so last question on chapter 8. Okay, no problem. All right, let me do. Just give me 1 second. I'm logging into my system. Okay. All right, let me go back to screen sharing. All right, so here's a question. So the following graph shows the supply curve for a group of students looking to sell used statistics textbooks. Each student has only one used textbook to sell if each rectangular segment under the supply curve represent the cost or the minimum acceptable price for one student. Assume that anyone who has a cost just equal to the market price is willing to sell his or her used textbooks. All right. So region A, so this is region A in the purple area, representing the total producer surplus when the price for market is how much? So that is going to be $100. That's this line over here. So $100. Region B, this is region B over here, representing what are the choices? All right, so region B wouldn't be the total surplus. Now, if you look at the A and B together, that'll be your total surplus. So region B will be the change in total surplus. So be careful with that. So change in total surplus, when the price for market is moved to, this is how much? $140. So 140. So change from 100 to 140. And make sure that's what everything says. Yep, that's it. All right, and then complete the following table by indicating which statement are true or false based on the information provided in the previous graph. Somebody's calling me. I'll call them back. So producer surplus is smaller when price is 140 than one is 100. Now this will be false, right? Because remember, your area A is when your producer surplus at 100, and then area B, that's how much more do you have when it changes to 140. So 140 is higher and 100 is lower. So this is a false statement. And then there are more people selling used textbooks when market price is 140 than 100. That is true because at 100, our quantity is only 3. At 140, our quantity is at 4. So this is a true statement. Assuming each student receive a positive surplus, Carlos will always receive more surplus than Deborah. Carlos over here and Deborah over here. Now this is also a true statement because for Deborah, she is her cost is at 100, and then for Carlos, his cost is at 80. So doesn't matter what the price sale is because Carlos has a lower cost, so he will always have a higher producer surplus. Veronica, this is for chapter 7. I'm doing this for the LAPO first, okay? So, and I'll do your question second. All right, so that's a true statement too. In order for Jeanette to earn a producer surplus exactly 60 from selling a used textbook, the market price need to be how much? So for Jeanette, where's she at? Her cost is 180. So for her to get a surplus of 60, the price must be 240. All right, so let's grid it now. Hopefully get it right. I think got everything right. Okay, so that's how you do number 6 on chapter 7. And then next, let's look at number. Oh, don't want to show that. Where is my number? Chapter 8. Chapter 8. Veronica, last question, right? Okay. Whoa, really like this one. All right. So government often place so-called sin tax on goods and services such as cigarette, alcohol, and pornography. The kind of tax are popular with politicians because they usually more palatable to voters than income tax. To understand the effect of tax, consider the monthly market for adult DVDs, which is shown on the following graph. All right, so this table graph over here. So this is our quantity, price demanded, tax batch. Suppose government impose a $8 per DVD tax on suppliers. So $8 tax, this will be the line. At this tax amount, the quantity for adult DVD, so this will be 80. So at $8 tax, our quantity is 80. And government collect how much revenue? To find government revenue, the quantity of sales are 80 units. Each one is $8. So together, 80 times 8, that will be 640. All right, and then next, calculate the government tax revenue. If it says a tax of 0, 8, 16, 20. Okay, so let's do each one. Looking for government tax revenue. So when the tax is 0, let me change this. So this is 0 tax. So 0 tax quantity is 101 or 100. So 100 times 0, we have 0. So the first point we have, when the tax is 0, your revenue is also 0. And then second, when tax is 8, we already have it, that's 640. So when tax is 8, we have 640. The next one, tax is 16. So 16, oh, go down. Looking for when this number equal to 16. Okay, so 16. Oh, too much. Too much. 16, 60. So 60 times 16. That's 960. So 960 goes on the next one. All right, and then next we have $20. $20 tax. So 20 times 50, that's 1,000. That's your third point. And the next point is 32 or 24. Oh, too much. 24 times 40. That's also 960. Somehow I think this might be symmetrical. 960 and then 32. So 32. Quantity is 20, so 32 times 20, that's gonna be 640 again. And last one. Oh, this goes over here. There we go. Last one when the tax is at 40. Okay, that's at 0. All right. Now, Laura, doesn't matter at what point you place it on the graph to shade the initial consumer surplus. An additional. Laura, let me answer this question first and then look at yours. Okay. So government can raise tax revenue by increasing tax per unit on .dvd. Okay, so read the whole question. Suppose the government currently imposing a $24 per DVD tax. And the statement says the government can raise tax revenue by increasing the tax on .dvd. Now at $24, we're at this point of the line. Now if you increase your tax even more, so to the right, your revenue actually decrease. So to increase our tax revenue, we should try to lower our size of the tax. So this will be a false statement. Oh, another graph. Oh, so many graphs. No wonder you guys want me to do this one. So consider the deadweight loss generated on each following case: no tax, tax 16, and then tax 32. On the following table. Okay. All right. Let's do this. So where was I? So no tax, $16 tax, and $32 tax. All right, and no tax. Let me go back. All right, so no tax. Your you don't have any deadweight loss over here. So for no tax, your deadweight loss should be 0. Zero deadweight loss. All right, and then for a $16 tax, oh, go down. $16 tax. We're looking for this triangle over here, this small triangle. So base times height over 2. So base is the vertical distance 12 to 28. The vertical distance is going to be 16. Horizontal distance is from 40 to 100. I mean 60 to 100. That's a 40 divided by 2. So that we lost is 320. 320. And the last one, a $32 tax. $32 tax, not even possible. All right, so for $32 tax, vertical distance from 4 to 36, that's a 32. Horizontal distance is from 20 to 100, that's a 80. Divided by 2, then 32 times 80 divided by 2 should be 1280. So 1280 is our last point. All right, that's it. Okay, so as the tax per DVD increase, deadweight loss should be also increasing. Well, it's increasing at a faster rate, so increasing at a greater and greater amount. For the first one, for $16, deadweight loss only increased by 320, but for the next $16, deadweight loss is increasing very dramatically, so it's increasing a greater amount. All right, let's grade it now. Hopefully everything's right. Oh yeah. So that's how I do number. I don't know what number is this one. It's the last question. Last question on chapter 8. Okay, so if any question, let me know. And then let's look at Laura's question, chapter 7. market efficiency and market failure. Last question on chapter 7. It's loading. Okay, so suppose the following graph shows a free market equilibrium where QE as the equilibrium quantity. Okay, got that. For output level at QE, the value of a unit to a buyer, this should be equals to, because at QE, that's your price for buyers and price for. Oh, okay, so Laura, not this question. You want number 4? Okay. Thank you for stopping me. Number 4. All right, number 4. Oh, hey, Crystal, this is the wrong one. Yeah, we haven't finished this one yet, but the one for your class will be starting at 3 p.m. Okay, so come back, but not go to the other one that starts in probably like 10 minutes or so. Okay, I'm doing a little late for this one. All right. So the following graph shows Manuel's weekly demand for cheesecake, represented by blue line. So that's demand curve. Point A represents a point along his weekly demand curve. Market price for cheesecake is $3 per slice, as shown as a horizontal black line. All right, so we have our demand curve and a price line. I don't know the second one. Okay. Let's do it all together. So let's get the question all together. Okay. So for the previous graph, you can tell the menu is willing to pay for the ace piece cheesecake should be $3.75. So $3.75. Chance to pay only $3. So price is only 3. So his surpass the difference. So $3.75 minus $3. So 0.75. Right, suppose the price of cheesecake falls to $2.25 at a lower price, menu will receive a. So we're going to use $3.75 minus $2.25. That will be $1.50. Now we're going to do the second part. So use the following demand curve, shade the area representing the consumer surplus 1. Price for cheesecake is $3. So consumer surplus will be this area. Then use the green point to shade the representing additional consumer surplus. Okay, so for the additional consumer surplus, it's just the lower little area over here. This is the additional consumer surplus. All right, let's check it, see if it's right. Put it now. All right, so that's it. All right, so Laura, I hope this answers your question. So just goes in between the two lines. That's your additional consumer surplus. All right, guys. Does anybody have any additional questions? Does anybody have the additional questions? Now, if no questions, before I let everybody go, stop sharing. Let me make sure I got everybody's name on the list so I can get you the extra credit for this week. Now, remember, for this week, the extra credit is going on to your second test. Okay, so not on the first one, but this will be on your second test. 6. All right, well, I have Veronica, who is here first. Laura, Asha. I'm typing everybody's names on the spreadsheet. Have it added to your it's on Canvas. Sandy. else is here? Trend 2. Guys, make sure if you're here now, if you haven't signed to the chat box, sign into chat box now so I can get your name on off the list. Okay. And do everybody. Oh, so how is here? Dinah. A pretty good crowd this week. Everybody. Okay. All right. Yeah. Next time I'm gonna make this by invite only. Okay. Does anybody have any question now? All right, guys, if no more questions, I'm gonna stop here. And then if you have any questions, guys, let me know and I will answer them either by email or I can post another videos on YouTube. All right, guys, if no more questions, I will see everybody here again next week. All right, see you later. Bye-bye.